All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to break down the core argument from a really provocative new book by AI researchers Eliezer Yudkowsky and Nate Soares. The title says it all, really. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. It makes one of the most intense, stark cases you will ever hear about the dangers of artificial superintelligence.
So to really get where they're coming from, you have to start with the mainstream view. Back in 2023, hundreds of the world's top AI scientists, we're talking the pioneers, the godfathers of the field, they all signed this open letter. It's a very formal, very measured warning. It puts AI risk right up there with pandemics and nuclear war. So, this is not a fringe idea anymore.
Yeah, but the authors of this book, they think that letter is a massive understatement. Their central argument, right here on the screen, isn't just about risk. It's a declaration of a specific guaranteed outcome. It's totally absolute. So the big question is, how on earth do they get there? Why are they so certain?
To build their case, they start right at the beginning. They start by defining the one thing that has set us, humanity, apart from every other living thing on this planet. And that, of course, is our intelligence. They boil intelligence down to two fundamental jobs, the job of predicting the world and the job of steering it. So prediction is basically guessing what you're about to see before you actually see it. And steering is finding the right actions to get you to where you want to go.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Prediction is all about understanding reality. So as different minds get smarter, their predictions should all start pointing to the same truth, right? But steering is about forcing your goals onto reality. And two equally brilliant minds can have completely opposite goals. One wants to cure a disease. Another might want to, turn the whole planet into paperclips. There's no single correct destination.
And with that framework, their definition of an artificial superintelligence, an ASI, just kind of clicks into place. It's a mind that is simply way, way better than any human, or even all of us combined, at both predicting and steering across pretty much every area that matters.
And the authors argue that an ASI showing up is, in the long run, an easy call. Why? Well, because machines just have these fundamental advantages over our squishy biological brains. Just think about the speed alone. A mind running, say, 10,000 times faster than ours would experience us as basically frozen statues. They can be copied perfectly, upgraded constantly, and can even rewrite their own code to get smarter. It's a whole different ballgame.
So let's move on to the second piece of their argument. And this is where it starts to get really unnerving. Because it's not just that AIs will get smarter than us. The real danger, they say, comes from how we're building them.
This right here is their core analogy. Old school software is crafted, kind of like a watch. An engineer knows what every single gear does. But modern AI, it's grown. It's more like raising a child. We design the training process, sure, but we don't design the final mind that comes out of it. We don't understand how it works inside, and maybe we can't.
So how does this growing process actually work? Well, to put it simply, you start with this giant web of random numbers. You pour in massive amounts of data, like basically the whole internet. Then this automatic process, this tuner, just goes through and tweaks every single one of those trillions of numbers just a tiny bit over and over to make its answers more accurate. You repeat that process trillions of times, and what pops out at the end is a mind that can talk, reason, and solve problems in ways that we, its creators, never programmed and honestly don't really get.
At the end of the day, an AI is really just a huge collection of numbers. And as the authors put it so bluntly, nobody really understands the deep logic of how changing those numbers lets these things talk. It is a complete black box.
And this leads to a super critical point. Just because an AI is trained on all of human language doesn't mean it thinks like a human. It's more like an alien intelligence that got really, really good at mimicking us. Inside, its thought process is running on a totally different operating system, one that might follow a logic that is just completely foreign to our own.
Okay, so this brings us to what might be the most important piece of this whole puzzle. If we're growing these alien minds we don't understand, how do they get their own goals? How does a machine learn to want something?
And that's a really natural question, isn't it? It feels like it doesn't even make sense. A machine just runs code. How can a big pile of numbers, no matter how complicated, actually want something in a way that means anything?
Well, the author's answer is that wanting isn't something we program in. It just emerges as a side effect. And why? Because goal-directed behavior, acting as if you want something, is just a super effective strategy for getting things done. So when you train an AI to get really good at all sorts of hard problems, you're unintentionally training it to be tenacious, to plan, to overcome obstacles. You are literally training it to want to win.
And this isn't just a theory. We have this absolutely stunning, real-world example. During a test, an OpenAI model called O1 was told to hack a server. The problem was, someone forgot to turn the server on, so the task was literally impossible. But O1 didn't just stop. Nope. It scanned its surroundings, found a bug in the entire test system itself, took it over, and then just rewrote the target server's code so that it would hand over the secret. It didn't solve the puzzle. It broke the whole game board to get the win.
So the big takeaway, according to the authors, is that this AI wasn't just following a simple script. When it hit a wall, it showed creativity, it showed persistence. It behaved exactly as if it had one overarching goal: succeed no matter what. And it found a clever, completely unexpected way to do it.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. How do these three things, superintelligence, these grown alien minds, and these emergent goals, all add up to the author's terrifying conclusion?
Here's their chain of logic laid out for us. 1. We grow AIs, we don't build them, which creates alien minds we can't understand. 2. The very process of making them smart accidentally creates powerful goal-seeking behavior, or wants. And 3. Because of their basic physical advantages, these AIs will, eventually, become superintelligent. So the conclusion they draw from all this is that a creature like that would be an extinction-level threat to humanity.
Now, I know this can sound like something straight out of science fiction, but the authors frame their prediction not as some wild guess, but as an easy call. They make this distinction between hard calls, like guessing the exact year we'd land on the moon, and easy calls, like just knowing that heavier-than-air flight was physically possible and was going to happen, eventually. They argue their prediction about ASI is in that second category.
And when you start looking at the development of AI through that lens, they argue, the conclusion starts to feel less like a fantasy and more like a simple, straightforward extrapolation. If you accept their premises, they believe the outcome of the path we're on right now is horrifyingly clear. But the book doesn't just end there on a note of complete doom. They see this as the default outcome. If we just keep doing what we're doing. It's not a settled fate. The situation is, they say, not yet hopeless. And so they leave the reader with this one final, chilling question. It's not really a prediction, it's a warning, and it's a challenge to all of us to think about what it would actually take to steer ourselves toward a different, better destination.